All right, guys, let's get started here. We're going to lay on our back. A couple options here to start. First option here is if you have a block and you want to lay on your block, upper back is on the block, okay, head on the floor or on the second block. If you don't have a block, you could just lay on your back, soles of the feet together, knees open. So this immediately is a glute. It's a big lateral rotation, right? So you can feel the glutes shorten. You can bring your arms above your head for a little bit more shoulders. Let's take a good minute here to kind of ground and center. So it's either restorative fish, your chest is on a block, or you're just kind of laying on your back here. Okay? Come on. So if you're just joining, we're laying on our back. Just kind of, starting class in a more grounded form. A lot of times yoga classes begin in a long meditation. Let's just do a minute here. Close your eyes, please. Start to connect to your breath. Nice big inhale in your nose. Nice big exhale here. So easiest variation could be just laying in Shavasana, right? Just releasing your legs and arms. Or you can prop yourself up on that block and let your knees fall open and reach your arms beyond your ears. That would be a really more intense, stimulating version here, laying on the back. Depends on how you're feeling. If you're on the block, I really like to feel how this brings the abdominal breath. Remember, that's our vagus nerve breath, the belly breathing. So we start with breath here, the foundation. Remember that breath, I learned this when I was in school. Breath is the main function of your body that's controlled by both your subconscious and your consciousness. So your breath is going all day long on its own, but then you can also bring the consciousness more into it. So in yoga, we're trying to bring that conscious breath more, not let that breath go subconscious. So big, deep inhale in your nose. Big, deep exhale. Remember, guys, this is all at your own pace. We got all regulars. Just listen to your body. You know the deal here. You can add things in. You can modify. Welcome big poses, headstands, handstands. I want you to change it based on how you're feeling and what you need. All right? All right, guys. Let's bring our hands, help our knees back together if they're open. Maybe if your head's back, use your hands to lift your head a little. We're going to make our way up off the ground, or up off of our props. So remove your props. Let's lay right on our back. All right, and just take a moment here, just like I like to suggest in any form, just move in ways that feel good. So some suggestions here are massaging your lower back, drawing circles with your knees. Another nice little thing here is to put your feet down and windshield wipe your knees, a little side to side. One last option, kind of bend and straighten your legs to the sky. So that's that hamstring and quads we're getting into, which we're doing the knee health workshop today. You're gonna see a lot about knee flexion and knee extension. Knee extensions where you straighten your leg. Knee flexions where you bend it, hamstring, okay? All right, guys, we're gonna get right into our first bridge round. Now, today is a glute-focused practice. What's our main exercise in glutes? Hip extension, posterior tilt, hip thrust, and bridge. So no block to start. Let's place our feet right behind our sit bones and our arms down by side. Start by pressing your lower back down. Let's tilt our pelvis, and then let's lift our hips up. And I'm going to pause for a moment here. I'm not going to move too fast, but I'm not going to hold yet either. And then I'm going to lower down vertebrae by vertebrae, massaging my back, bringing my hips down. Again, nice inhale. Let's lift our hips up. Nice and slow, let's pause. Exhale, lower down. Now close your eyes. If you want to add your arms, you can inhale, lift your hips, reach your arms back. Exhale, lower down slowly. Bring your arms more down by your side. Let's do a few more bridges here. Now, try to make this, as a yogi, say more of meditation. What does that mean? Concentrating, controlling your attention, setting more of an intention, becoming more present, more mindful, more calm, tuned into the subtle. Those are all, today's meditation day, right? So we're bringing a little bit more awareness of that idea. In my opinion, guys, meditation qualities are basically the single most important thing someone could practice. Everyone's talking about exercise, how it's amazing. There's a lot of evidence how that can really change the brain. And don't get me wrong, exercise is amazing as well. But meditation's a little bit more, practical, kind of taking control of the mind. But we'll get a little bit more into that later. All right, now listen, guys, let's slowly bring our hips down, our knees into our chest. And I do want to get like the hip flexors and the knees warmed up and the core warmed up more, like the abs. So what I'm going to do here is curl up into a little ball. All right, now I want to keep this little curl. My lower back stays down. Okay, my left leg's going to go forward, pull the right knee in. The whole while, she is really not letting you guys see me today here. So you're going here, and then you're going to switch. So notice the whole time my lower back is down and my upper body's curled. Okay? This kind of is like being in plank and bringing the knees to the chest. Okay, you can lift your chest a little bit higher. You're kind of pulsing side to side here. All right, so that's kind of our antagonist muscle, right? That's not really the glutes, it's actually the opposite muscle group, which means it's going to kind of actually disengage the glutes. All right, guys, let's lower down here. Next round of bridge is now the hold. So a longer hold. Remember that up, down, moving bridge, much different than holding an actual bridge. If you'd like to now take a block between your thighs, that's always a good idea. Block between the thighs. Or it's always a good idea to have more complex actions, right? Arms out by side, let's lift those hips. This is the round where you can grab the outer edges of your mat. You can walk your hands underneath your body now and roll your shoulders under, get that nice chest opener. But here's where we get a little bit more refined with the details. So it starts with the feet, kind of feeling the feet relax down equally, but really pressing the big toe down more. That's our primary potentiation. Pull the heels a little bit more toward the shoulders. Bring the pubic bone a little bit more forward and up. Lengthen through your core. All right, a couple more breaths here. So again, if you're just joining, we're going to do a little extra focus today on your buttocks muscles called the gluteus. You got your glute max, you got your glute med, you got your glute min, the three main glutes, and they all do have slightly different actions. Glute med and glute min work kind of together more. But the main glute function here we're looking at is bringing our hips via action forward or up in space. And that's right on that what we call this sagittal plane, so front and back body. Your glutes do have a very rotational quality to them. We'll get to that in a few moments. But you're trying to hold a glute. You're trying to hold what's called glute bridge. In yoga, we call it bridge. And in fitness, it's like glute bridge or hip thrust. So one of the main exercises that are safe and easy that you don't need to be warmed up. Let's keep going, guys. Let's lower down. Next to warm up. More. The last one was hip flexors. Take your hands intertwined behind your right hamstring. If you had a towel, you could do it. So what I want you to do here, guys, is flex your left foot. Inhale, pull the knee toward the shoulder, bend the knee. Exhale, resist it. Pull, straighten the knee and flex. So there's stretching, but there's a lot of activation, guys. All right. Inhale, I bend. I kind of even point the toe maybe. Exhale, I really flex. See, it's that same idea like we did in bridge, where I pause, I engage, I pull, I try to straighten my knee more, and then I release, bend, and pull in. Okay, a few more, please. This is it's literally called like a hamstring floss. I use this, it's a knee floss too. You're gonna learn that today in knee rehab, that there's always this idea of flossing, like moving a joint through its range with some weight or resistance, depending on the type of floss or where you're at. The flossing of the joints, think about it like lubricating the joints or increasing blood flow and heat, just function. All right, we're gonna go right into our second side, right leg release. Intertwine your opposite pinky right behind the hamstring, okay? Inhale is the bend, exhale is straighten. Try to flex your right foot as well. I'm already noticing how tight this left side is. Okay, inhale and exhale. Go ahead. There's a lot of activation, yogis. Remember the idea of what's called proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation or reciprocal inhibition, the idea of like engaging your opposite muscle group to create release in other antagonist muscles. So by engaging our quadricep and our hip flexor and our dorsiflexion, so the flexion of the foot, you're really encouraging what most people say is the best form of stretch and release. It's by strengthening another muscle antagonist group, you're going to encourage healthy release. You know, if you just keep stretching certain muscles, yogis, you're kind of making the body weaker. You know, I'm a big advocate of stretching, but we get this sometimes idea we want to like stretch too much. And if we can create patterns in the body that are activating, sometimes the reason muscles stay tight and won't release is because the antagonist muscles are imbalanced. So this is a big shift in like fitness and wellness, is the idea of like active release. All right, now let's go slow, guys. Let's bring our knees back into our chest. Nice job, just about 10 there. Let's take our first twist, and then we're gonna go more dynamic bridges. So knees, hips to the left, knees to the right. Little twist here, guys. Right hand on the outer thigh, left arm reaches out. So you guys know I don't teach as much yoga lately as on the back, so we're doing extra today. Close your eyes now. Now back to breath work. We've been very physically focused, very active. Slow down. Come back to meditative breath control and work. Back to center on your inhale and over to the second side. Remember that as my knees go left, maybe I scooch my hips to the right. Just to kind of, you know, sometimes your spine will be like that. So you keep your spine nice and long, especially in like the first twist. Remember, it's a good general rule of thumb, yogis, to warm up your front and back body, tensions and compressions, movements before you enter into, you know, the asymmetrical planes like twisting and lateral bending. It's a general rule. It's not really always done, but you know, in any type of therapeutics or rehab, front and back body done in many forms, symmetrical, unsymmetrical, but and then you go into rotational. Okay. When you think about injuries, you know, say you're doing weightlifting, yeah, the injuries happen in like squatting or, you know, Romanian deadlifting or just deadlifting in general. But in real life, injuries happen like rotation and like lateral bending, you know, QL movements. But so just a good reminder, warm up first forward and back, like jog forward, right? And then you do some lateral movements in your run, right? Or twisting movements. So good reminder there. All right, guys, so I want you to finish up your last twist breath or two there. And now we go our first angled bridge. I want to remind you about this bridge. It's not done enough. It's fantastic. So remember we started with the soles of our feet together and our knees open? So right now I'm in this angled position. You see that? You got to be a little particular. You don't want your feet too far forward or too close. It's kind of like a couple, you know, inches forward from my glutes here. Arms got to go down to stabilize. I want my knees to stay open as I'm doing this, all right? Now, as I push my feet down, my big toes press together slightly, my knees stay open and I lift my hips. So I'm in bridge in this Konasana form. You see this? And I want to hold here, guys. All right? So I'm like this in bridge, right? My knees are open. My arms are down by side, stabilizing. Hold. You get strong by holding either tension or compression. You have to hold in the stimulus of strength. That's the memory. The longer you're in it, the stronger you'll get. The longer you're in it, the faster you'll get strong. So long holds are really good. Last couple breaths. As we now, remember the glute has main 3 actions. Lateral rotation, which is what you're in right now. The abductions glute medius, the extension, the hips lifting, but then posterior tilt. Don't let your back arch, bring the pubic bone a little bit more forward. So you want pubic bone a little bit higher than abdomen, if that makes sense, all right? All right, guys, let's lower down here. And then nice and slow, yogis, let's bring our legs up to the sky. So now we're in this L, antagonist muscle group, abs and hip flexors, okay? So we're always creating balance. Go slow, arms reach up. Straighten your legs more. Watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna lift my chest straight up. I'm gonna lower my shoulders, head down, and then I'm gonna lift my pelvis straight up. So I'm gonna alternate. I'm gonna lift my hips. I'm gonna lift my chest. Lift my hips, lift my chest. I am gonna have you hold, but for now, remember, that's called the double hollow body alternating. It's a reverse crunch, crunch, reverse crunch, crunch. Go slow, maybe even pause. So as you lift your shoulders, you might pause for a brief moment. Remember, I'm trying to lift straight up. I'm not crunching forward. My legs aren't swinging over my head. I'm trying to reach my arms straight up and my legs straight up. Now, if you want to try, you can try to do both at once. They call that double hollow crunch. It's really considered the best rectus abdominis exerciser. Remember that your hip flexors, like your psoas, has way more potential strength than your abs. Way more. That's proven in myology. But in that sense, they try to like dominate front body tensions. You know, so your hip flexors turn on easy. Your abs, not so much. Even in someone who's very fit. So try to notice that. You know, does this try to do all the work and not here? Now listen, guys, bring your arms down by side, and then I just want you to hold your hips up a little bit. Hold your hips, and then it's a little pulse, okay? So my hips never go down, they're up, and it's this little like hip pulse. My arms can be down by side, okay? Try to really be subtle about it. My hips are hovering, my upper body's down, and it's just like little lifting of your hips. You gotta like, as you're going through exercises you're not as accustomed to doing, you gotta really slow down and turn on your subtle self-awareness and try to keep quality muscular contractions. Now listen, bring your hips down and then pulse your upper body up. Okay, last few. Just holding your legs up there is really difficult, and straightening them, which is the opposite of bridge, because we're in hip flexion and knee extension, okay? Because bridge is here, and now you're here. So it's opposite, right? It's kind of like down dog and up dog. Same thing, just done in a different way, right? All right, guys, so there's our very symmetrical abdominal work. Let's lower down, bring our knees into our chest. Next round of bridge is the one-legged bridge, and I want to start back in movement. So laying on your back, arms down by side. You got to have support here. You got to reposition. Let's do left foot first, to the right a little. Bring your right knee toward your chest. Just keep it bent to start. So just like earlier, but we're going to combine. We're going to move up and down. We're going to hold our last round. Press your lower back down, tilt your pelvis, and then drive through your foot. Lift the hips. And then lower down vertebrae by vertebrae. You kind of tap your butt and drive through that left heel. Okay? You can even bring your hand, your left hand on your left glute and your right hand on your right, and you can kind of feel how much more your left glute is turning on. So I'm doing now single leg bridge thrusts. I do hip thrusts every exercise routine, whether it's to be a peak exercise or whether it's just to warm up. How do you warm up your glutes, right? You can do the straight leg extensions, which I do a lot. Like I'll walk around like this. You can do, opposite leg, opposite arm. You can do bridge, hip. But how do you really wake up your glutes? Squatting is pretty good. Not the best, especially if you do like a minimal range or you don't come up and squeeze your butt. But, bridge and hip thrust table, they kind of stand alone in how they're going to activate your glutes. There's really not a lot of great substitutes, guys. All right. Now hold your last round. I see some of you are already switching sides, but I want you to try to, in a sense, we're starting to exhaust the muscle more. We're really going to failure. So you hold that bridge, work potentiations, which means more skillful, subtle engagements. Press that big toe down, relax the foot more, knee over heel more, pull the heel toward the shoulders more. Pubic bone goes forward and up more. If pubic bone eventually can be higher than knee and abdomen, you are in posterior tilt. Okay? So you don't want to be like this in bridge, that you're not going to get it. You got the pubic bone forward. Slowly lower down, maybe windshield wipe your knees really slow. So there's the idea of kind of, we've been building and now we're going for more weight, more reps, more complex sequencing, more exhaustion, more failure. Right side, reposition right foot mindfully. Go ahead, you know the deal here. You don't need me to give you again all the stuff. Focus, slow down, feel more. All right. It all comes down to that idea of meditation, like getting out of what's called like the default mind. I'm worried about this and that, and the past and the future. Oh my God, what am I going to do later? Oh my God, what happened yesterday? I want to buy this, I want to buy that. All the stuff. What's going on in politics? All that default mind, they call it. The whole goal of meditation, in a sense, is to get you out of that. It's not to do something as much as it is to not do something. And asana is great for that. It creates conditions where you can really focus on something which will control your attention. It'll make you very present in the moment with yourself. So just reminding you that in yoga, they call it the monkey mind. It's literally what they call it in a lot of the Western or the Eastern kind of philosophies. Just this this mind that's all over the place. All right. So we're trying to really get focused here, more of a refined part of ourself. Whether it's breath or a certain muscle group or movement. And then you hold that last round, guys. Some of you are on your own. You've been done for minutes. And some of you are still going. So that's cool. We're all working at our own level. No problem. All right, guys. So I'll give you one more abdominal thing. So we'll kind of take all what we've done and put it together in the most kind of asymmetrical, complex movement. So we just did single bridge. Now it's single hip flex, and we're going to add the twist. We haven't done this one in a while. Arms reach back, right hand down by side, legs forward. Big inhale, exhale, left hand toward right flat. Now, we're not alternating. We're going to inhale slow, about 80%. Exhale, inhale. Right hand can go behind the head if you want. Easiest variation is something like this. Left elbow, right knee. Basically the same exercise. It's not going to be the full compound because the leg isn't moving, okay? And the arm is moving less. So we're doing this like on our back. It's similar movement to revolved half moon. It's a similar movement kind of in and out of revolved triangle. We see it a lot in yoga, this stuff, many forms. But you don't get this type of tension and compression movement that often when we do it upright. We're always like lengthening more. It's a really nice core exercise, guys, to remember. I learned this one in biomechanics, right? I didn't learn this one exactly from yoga. The idea is like this lengthening across, just like you stretch in a three-legged dog, open the hip, then you knee it to opposite elbow, right? Second side, yogis, go ahead, get your abs going one last time. So it's right hand here, or it's just simple like this. So this is like the therapeutics version, where you first start twisting, where your opposite armpit and shoulder come across the body to the opposite hip, in a sense. Right through here. Lengthen it, tension, strength. So tension strength means as the muscle gets longer, you never drop out of it. And then compression strength, you squeeze and contract. A negative and then a contraction. You could say a positive, I guess. Last few, guys. All right, guys, so we're here in the last round of our bridge. What's the peak bridge? It's straight leg. It's not done that much in yoga these days, but it is a very classical form of the bridge. Now, if you watch me quick, I want to give options. So it does start single leg. It looks like this. And I want to try to put more weight into my right leg. You see how it's straight? Full extended bridge looks like this. It's straight leg. You can try that if you're ready. Okay, notice my feet are flexed. I am not pointing my toes here. I am flexing my feet, pressing through my heels, and everything lifts. Now here's the tricky part. I got a posterior tilt. I can't arch my back. So my butt lifts a little higher via the tilt. If that's too much, how does it start? Single leg with straight. So opposite here, boom. Try to push down through your right heel and take weight out of your left foot, okay? We eventually do single leg, straight leg bridge. That is a lot of straining through what's called your superficial back line. Remember that straight leg extensions are superficial back line. And that if you go bent knee bridge, it's the big phasic, more of that, I'm having a brain fart here. But it's very different to do the straight leg extension pattern, where the lower back and the hamstring take the tension, as opposed to the glute. So if you're doing one side, please do the other side. If you're doing double leg, maybe take one last shot, all right? That's called extended or full bridge, all right? It's a really good one to remember. Also, we did the angled bridge, we did the one-legged bridge. You know, if you do the sliding bridge a lot, love that one. The banded bridge, you do heel lifted bridge, you do foot flex bridge, all different types of ways to do these bridges to be just a little bit more well-rounded. All right, guys, so we're gonna start making our way, but let's do a quick stretch. Right ankle to top left knee, thread the needle. There's a glute stretch. Remember, our focus is glutes, not just activating the strengthening, but now we're here, not very long, just a couple breaths. You should feel a little stretch on the outer hip, all right? Close your eyes, slow down. You just worked the twisting stuff and then the straight leg bridge. If you can see the system I created there, we did the cross straight leg inflection, and then we took that same quality, but then we pushed weight back. So the leg was flexing across the body, and then it's the opposite kind of action, right? And since it's glute day, why don't we get the trifecta and we do what's called lateral leg lifts. Instead of doing things like half moon today, side plank today, why don't we do the lateral leg lifts, close out our laying practice? And that'll be half a practice already, right? Second side, please. Just giving you a moment after some of the real strenuous exercise that can get the mind and body agitated. We come back to a moment to kind of ground and center. That's always a way I try to teach and practice, so that as we go through the different stages of our exercise routines or whatever you're doing, you really kind of make sure you're kind of calibrating. You're clear-minded, guys. Like I said, you're meditative. You don't get into that stress type approach. Your body is memory. We don't want that amygdala. That's the fear center brain, right? That's been developing over millions of years. And the prefrontal lobe, the cortex, that's the new part of the brain that we have that's most developed, where it's basically the part of the brain that's allowed me to teach class, right? I can cognitively think, I know I'm conscious, and I can know I'm gonna die. Animals don't know that. That's that front brain. We want to try exercise coming from there mostly, right? Intelligent exercise. All right, guys, last thing here on the back. I was going to skip this today, but I want to do it now. So we're going to roll onto our side. Now, there are many variations here. You can go here. Now, it just starts like this. Since our focus is glute, I do want to flex my foot. My knees are stacked. So if you can't see, I'm on my left side with my right leg straight, my left knee bent. I have my left arm forward to balance in front of me. My left bottom knee is bent to balance in back of me. And my leg is going straight out to the side. Yeah, it's the same as half moon, where we hold here, but it's moving. So it's abduction instead of anti-adduction. Remember, we've been talking a lot about this. Now, a little bit more is to take your hand behind your head and do a lateral crunch. So what that's called is more of like the triple chain, where the leg, the torso, and the arm are all involved. This is a simple way to put it. That is really good. That's part of knee therapy. I'm not going to do that one today in knee therapy, but it is really good. I'm going to do it standing. All right, and then if you want to hold one last round, that's glute. You can feel that. Like if you don't have bands and you don't walk around with bands, that's a really nice one, yogis. To strengthen the glutes and to stabilize your hips better. Let's do our second side. Just a quick round here today. Remember that when I roll into my right arm goes forward to balance in front. I don't want to be like really unstable here. My right knee is going to bend behind me. And then I'm actually just going like that. So I'm like this, right? Where the left leg is lifting out and up. Go ahead, guys. It's kind of like Pilates, right? This stuff is done a lot in Pilates. Pilates, really smart form of exercise, really well-rounded, and there's a lot of, kinesthetic intelligence in that. If you it's good to mix up your exercises, like do some yoga. I try to mix in all modalities to be well-rounded. You lift some weights twice a week, 3 times a week maybe. You do some serious cardio days 2-3 times a week, and then you do a lot of yoga 2-3 times a week, and then there's your 5-6 days a week of good exercise and body care. So hopefully you're feeling that in your outer hip, and that's the glute medius right here. We've had less focus on that. We did hit it twice, but right there, the angled bridge would hit there more as well, and the glute max is the posterior. We got to keep going though, guys. So I want to bring it back to center and start to rock forward and back. We did a couple stretches, mostly strengtheners and reciprocal emitters. So take a few of these. This is good. We're going to eventually come up to tabletop, right? And kind of just maybe take a cat-cow or 5, kind of arching. Maybe circling. The idea that yoga and exercise in general, I mentioned like weightlifting injuries. People go weightlift as their main form of exercise, and everything is like very forward and back. They'll literally like jog forward, and then they'll warm up forward, like squats and push-ups, and then they'll squat with weight and deadlift. It's all very symmetrical forward, shortening. It's really not a great way to approach your body, right? The body, your core is meant to move like this, guys. If you're like doing patterns of exercise that are like really restricting all your movement, that's going to be a really difficult fascial pattern to undo. You keep making the fascia collagen 1 more dense. So, now we come into this kind of form. Look, where you're in cat-cow and you're like really getting into that more free type movement. If you were here Wednesday, a couple of days work, we did the animal primal flow. It was all very kind of like, there was some martial arts, there was some dancing, there was some really interesting movements, okay? Downward dog is next, guys. Take a few breaths in your dog. Just feel it out. You know the deal here. No cues. Remember that a lot of the yogi masters say that beginner yoga is taken class, intermediate yoga is self-applied practice, self-practice, intuitive, and level 3 out of all levels is instructing it to people or a group. So it doesn't really have to do with like perfection of form, yet taking more personal control of your practice. And I try to give you a lot of opportunity to do that. You're in down dog. Remember, glutes is our focus. If you'll watch me for a moment, it's simple. Lift your heels a little bit. Inhale, right leg high. Pulse it a couple times. Right foot down. That's it. Left leg high. Pulse it from the hip. Left foot down. Alternating. That is it. Hold down dog. Straight leg extensions. All right, glutes are our focus today. I want you to really embody what it means to strengthen your glutes. Okay, so I'm going to start doing this in some of our classes where we're going to have adductors as a focus. That's going to be a really fun day where you're going to be really sore. We're going to do a glute medius focus class. Today is really a glute maximus focus. I picked that first. It's probably the most important muscle most of you need to work on more, not your abs. Now, bring it down to your knees. Lift your chest a little bit. Hover your right shin. Bring it out to the side. Here's glute medius. It's horizontal abduction. Surprisingly, we haven't done this yet, right? Down it hovers, out it goes up. So notice, yogis, my knee doesn't come forward here, yogis. Look. Notice my hips really don't shift, my hands don't shift. Go ahead. Remember that activating also causes reciprocal inhibition release. You don't have to stretch that much to create a very flexible and mobile body. There is no weight. You're not creating more muscular resistance. Non-weight bearing activation causes very good reciprocal inhibition. So there's a lot of benefit to be had from lifting weights. If you don't ever lift weights, you should. You're the person who needs it the most. People who lift weights a lot need it less, right? They need less less weighted movement. Now listen, right knee down, left foot hovers, go ahead. Now notice my hips went right to the right. Don't let that happen. That's called a compensation pattern. I want to notice I can try to keep my hands equally down. I just bring it out and up. And I pause. Remember that idea, just like our bridge, you do the action, but then you pause. Just like the leg lift before, the previous exercise, which was straight leg and front and back. This is more rotational lateral. The leg goes up and back straight, and it stays up there and pulses. You can stay up there and pulse or just stay up there. Last few, guys. I do want to bring a little bit more weight bearing into the arms. There's been minimal of that today because we're on our back and the arms are moving more. So take a moment. Let's do a quick stretch. I'm going to do the camel today because it shortens the glute pattern better than like Cobra for the average person, right? So since our focus is glute max, particularly in the coronal plane, you know, the sagittal, I want to see the camel, but watch me please. Not like this. That is the key. This is doing nothing, all right? You got to bring your hips more forward. I keep saying that. Remember in bridge, look at me. This is the same form as bridge. Do you notice this is bridge? Here's where you can really digest this idea of the tilt. I don't want to be in bridge like this. This is how a lot of people do bridge. Watch the pubic bone come more forward than my knees and abdomen. Remember I said that? Where the pubic bone is my most forward or up in bridge position. My hips go forward from the lowest part called the pubic bone, which is your front lower bone here, right above your genital area. All right? That's key to understand. It changes the whole effects of bridge. People do bridge, which is supposed to be a lower back healing exercise, but in big arch, and it actually can be way more like irritating to your condition, like stenosis, herniations, bulging discs, a lot of other things there, just spinal compression in general. Take a little breather, sit on your heels for a moment, maybe just kind of letting your ankles stretch kind of here. Now, we can do the dynamic camel. So after this, we're going to go super long optional plank, vinyasas, or inversion, and then we'll go up to standing. And that's where practice is going to close today. So now here's the moving bridge. If you want to try it, it looks like this. You might want your blocks. Right hand behind, left arm up. That's glute bridge in a twist. I didn't include it today, but there's this bridge here, guys. If you want to peek up at me, I kind of twist. You see this? Now, we're in a sense mimicking that same thing here, where left hand goes behind, right hand kind of goes up. Right hand behind, left arm up. It is bridge, okay? I'm just trying to really show you how bridge comes into, how bridge is such a fundamental movement in yoga, bow, table, plank. If you're looking for an exercise to do a lot of, that is safe and effective, that's going to what's called functional. What does functional mean? It's going to help the quality of your daily life, right? If your glutes can stabilize all this better, you're going to move in a new way. You're going to be able to bend over way better. You're going to be able to walk on your feet longer without pain, because all these little muscles don't have to work so hard. A lot of people walk and never use their glutes. We're going to do walking workshop one of these days too. All right, guys, so listen, weight bearing on your arms, big group of regulars. Here's some options: vinyasa chaturangas, push-ups, plank hold, forearms or hands. Side plank is on the table right now. Forearm balance, handstand at the wall, handstand hops. As long as you put weight in your arms and you go for stamina and challenge. You could do weight here, which is dolphin. You could do weight here, which is dog. You go long down dog hold. All right? So all those are on the table. We're not going to do a lot of that today. We do that every class. I want you to pick something or two. I'm going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes. If you go for a max plank hold, that's going to be killer on those arms. If you want to do a little plank, maybe a couple chaturangas, and then maybe an inversion, headstand is on the table. All right? It's a big shoulder workout. So now I'm not telling you exactly what to do. I suggest doing maybe something you don't like in that, what I mentioned. Maybe doing something you do less of, but also doing something that you like as well, maybe a little half-half. Remember I said the idea of intermediate yoga is more personal, not in the sense of just doing what you like. Yogis, some of the practice has to be what you don't like. Like I call it like, oh, how am I going to torture myself today? My torture later today is going to be squatting with weight, okay? How else do I torture myself? 2 days ago, I went out in the field and I ran backwards 20 times along the length of the field. I didn't run forwards, I ran backwards. There has to be a part of your exercise wellness routine where it's basically torture for the mind and body in a sense where you're really uncomfortable. You're struggling to get to work. Okay? You're all doing your thing. I'm going to give you another minute and a half or 2 minutes, all right? And then we're going to close up with standing. Nice, Leslie. Nice, Dessa. Yeah, some of you are doing a stretch. You know that's cool, but just to be clear, this is our 2 to 3 minutes of like an arm weight-bearing exercise. Yogis, how do you stimulate bones? It's weight. So when I work with people who have like symptoms of osteoporosis, their bones are literally degenerating. We have this new thing. The mind is breaking down. The like dementia. These things where the mind and neural degeneration. We also have like muscular degeneration, which is really common. That's like one of the fastest muscle tissues of the body that degenerate, but it also grows the fastest. And then there's bone degeneration too. Yogis, the way you stimulate bone growth is impacted weight. So say you want to grow your bones, you have to lift the heaviest weight possible with minimal reps. So say you want to lift weight, I will literally have you pick up as max as you can. Like, let's just pick up 2 kettlebells and we hold them as long as possible and walk with them. It's called the weight carry. It's the most fundamental exercise there is. It's more fundamental than squatting or deadlifting. You want to build your bones. It is known now you can build bone cells at any age. It is known you can build brain cells at any age. People in their upper 90s are still building brand new brain cells in their hypothalamus. The reason people have trouble building bones is because you didn't for the last 20 years. And that system, that function in your body has gone dormant. And it's just like ketosis. You always have sugar in your bloodstream. You're never going to burn fat. The catabolic function of breaking down fat does not work in your body. It doesn't matter how much you don't eat and stuff and exercise, you won't burn fat because the function has atrophied and gone dormant. You can build bone at any age. It's just really difficult to reactivate and stimulate once it's asleep. How do you do it? Max weight or jumping like impact. That therapy where like they take like a light rubber hammer and they like hit your bones for a long time and they keep hitting the bone harder to stimulate bone growth. You guys heard of that one, right? Can't remember, there's a term for that. All right, guys, so looks good. Let's stand up, right to standing. We're here in the end of practice. We got a few minutes left of standing glute work, which most people call the most functional glute work. It bridge is great, but you gotta lay on your back. But what can you do in your morning walk to get your glutes firing better? One of my favorite little exercises here for the glute standing is just standing. Let's bring our left knee to our chest. Let's intertwine our 10 fingers below the knee. Now, I don't want to straighten that leg. I want to straighten my bottom leg, but bend that knee more. We did this on our back moving. I really want to drive through my standing leg and lift the left knee up into the chest so much that this glute really fires. Standing glute. All right? Hold position, breathe. Just stand here as much as possible. And I'm like pulsing down through my standing leg and knee up. I'm a big fan of ballistic pulsing, whether it's stretching, whether it's strengthening. The ballistic, even though it can incur more injury, is a fantastic way to signal the body for stretch or strength. Okay, hopefully you feel that. We got a little less time. We're just going to run through these exercises quick. Second side, please. Now, I know my body pretty well. I know my left glute doesn't fire as well as my right glute, maximus. I'm stronger. When I do single leg hip thrust, my right hip is so much stronger. Notice that about yourself. Hold the weaker side a little bit longer. That's key, guys. It's not just like strengthening, but more like harmonizing the body. Whether it's the same muscles or antagonist groups, try to notice your body's patterns and apply exercise accordingly. That is what's called intelligent exercise. It's not like, oh, this exercise is good for my glutes, so I'm going to do it. It's more like, I know I need glute strengthening, so I do it. Or, you know, like, why are you doing it? Enhance that. We always focus on what it is and how we do it, but really why is the wisdom of it. And I try to teach why as much as possible, not just how, not just what it is or how we do it. The true depth is the why. That's what spurs intermediate yoga and exercise. Good job. Slowly release. So there's some balance work. Here's our glute chair. Here we go. You can feel your butt. Turn your feet out. Get low. Okay? You can do a little bouncing. You can bring your hands in center, or if you want to go wide, it's a little lateral shoulder. We didn't really do much of that since we're like now doing side plank. This is called the medial deltoid. It's the outer shoulder, okay? But go ahead, get low. Glutes, glutes. That's our mantra today. Glutes is just a fancy myological term for butt. So you can just say butt, butt. Tuchus is another word. Derriere, right? Focus on our butt today, guys. Now I do want to give, remember there's bent knee and there's straight knee, okay? That's a key aspect to understand. Your glutes are going to function very different. All right, let's slowly come up, please. Step forward. I want to do one round of the hip hinge. You know, this is part of the knee rehab. So it looks like this. I inhale. So this is anterior tilt, hip flexion. So that's double glute compound. Exhale, squeeze the butt. That is bridge. Inhale. This is something you can do on your morning walk. So that's why I've been trying to relate to this. How do we make exercise as practical as possible? Everyone's going for their daily walks. You can do this, stop and pause. You can maybe stop and pause and just do this, right? You can stop and pause and do this. You don't have to lay on your back and do bridge. You can do it like this. You're squeezing the butt at the top, all right? Watch me. It's that same things we've been doing, but kind of all put together. One-legged hip hinge, they call it Warrior 3, but at the top, I'm doing a little too fast, all right? I'm kind of running out of time here. So we're moving. A step, I always, you know, you got to go to the gym and do all the yoga stuff or your house, but if you can make some of these body enhancers, these body homeostasis balancers, just more practical. How can you do it in your daily routine? So much good, right? All right, so second side if you're doing it. I'm going a little too fast, yogis. Slow it down. Now, there's a lot of other glute exercises you can do, right? We're not doing up table, it's one of my favorites. We're not doing reverse plank, it's one of my favorites. But we're starting with a nice foundation here. There's always a lot of different options that, you know, as you now know, like when I mention glutes, oh, this is for glutes, you say, oh, okay, I'll add this to the bank of exercises, all right? So a really practical way to do this, guys. Say you're on your morning, evening walk, watch. You know how people go like this in their morning walk? Hip flexors, hip flexors, hip flexors. Watch me here, the opposite. Notice my chest doesn't come forward. What's happening is pubic bone is coming forward as my right leg goes back. That's what's hard to see. I don't want this to happen. Look. See the back arch? You know how we always say in yoga, Oh, your right leg goes back, it wants to arch the pelvis with it. No, 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 pull the ribs in a little bit. Same principle. We're not doing lunge today. We're not doing any of those yoga poses we normally do. See, same idea. Can you keep your pubic bone forward and go like that? Now you're going to see it smaller because that's the better way to do it. Posterior tilt against hip extension. Down to the ground. Let's try it one last time. Cat, cow. Hold, cat, just the hips. Watch me here. Hold, cat, just the hips. Lift the leg up and back. Same thing. Hold, cat, hips. Lift the leg against it. As you lift the leg up and back, posterior tilt, cat, hips against it. It's called posterior tilt and hip extension compound. You learn that, all the yoga poses is way easier because that's the main action that's going to, pike you to handstand. It's going to help you hold lunge way easier. And now, again, just to be clear, there's bend in your straight leg. So there's another way I like to do this. Last demo, and I'm going to give you a stretch, is this, guys. One leg, two leg, okay? So I want to give you a stretch now. Let's do some stretches we didn't do. Straddle. We're running out of time here, guys. So we already did the figure four. We already did a nice twisting stretch. I'm going to do this right now. I want to do a little side body, a little forward bend. All right? Sit up tall, please. Big inhale. To start, right hand down, just 2 to 3 breaths, left arm up and over. This is going to take care of our hamstrings, our inner thighs, our side body. It's a really fantastic way to hit a lot of the body quickly. Second side, left hand down, right arm up and over, side bend, please. So, I hope you saw, the idea today was all glutes. We hit them hard, many kind of different ways. And, that's what we're going to try to mix in here and there, not just always on Sundays, but, sometimes on my Thursday class. Tuesday tends to be a glute class because it's yoga core. And I'm even going to mix this stuff in like Saturday mornings as well, even the gentle yogas, okay? Back to center, right down the center. Walk those hands kind of forward between the legs. Just a few deep breaths, guys. So listen, guys, we got time really for about one more stretch. I want to get to meditation. I would probably pick a front body stretch. We did a lot of reciprocal inhibitions, but not too many big stretches in the front body, camel. So if there's one you want to do, one last stretch, now's the time. Or we'll do this one. Big toes touch, knees a little wide, and let's lean back. We already, we already did pigeon, so you don't want to go there maybe. If you want to do like a seated spinal twist or lay on your back and swing your legs up. We didn't even do this today, right? We were just kind of here. We did this instead, right? Active way of doing this. This would be another maybe good one. We just did straddle. I want you to take another minute and a half and close up your physical practice, whatever that means to you. Meditation class is going to start in about a minute and a half. I'm going to run to the restroom. We'll meet, ready for meditation in about a minute and a half, yogis. yogis. Next part of class. Establish yourself in a position to start to do the deeper work. Remember that class is going to start with active kind of concentration, intention, and focus. And then it's going to go to passive meditation. Okay? I mentioned earlier that I do believe meditation is maybe the most important skill we can develop because it's underdeveloped in most people. I remember that 40% of adult Americans between the age of 18 and 70 have symptoms of anxiety and depression. And that exercise can definitely help with that, but we also need to do, the inner work to start to control this overthinking, over emotional, over stressful mind. Okay. So find your position, shake it out. The first step in meditation is to become still in the body. If we can't control the mind yet, we start to control the body. They're connected in the same, right? So a lot of times in our breath and our body, we can see the state of the mind. So how do we kind of work in reverse? We slow the body down. That's why exercise isn't the best catalyst. It's more of a beginner. Now we take that next step into stilling the body, which starts to still the mind more. So we're attempting to get out of default mind. And how do we do that? We pick something and focus on it. There's a famous book by, I think, a German or a Hungarian scientist called The Flow. And it's all about this idea where artists, surgeons, musicians, they kind of get into this mental state of attention where the rest of the universe melts away and they are completely in the moment with their task. And how do we do that in yoga in a very practical sense? The breath. So I want you to start to breathe slow, deep, in and out your nose, and attach your consciousness to it. Don't let it wander. This isn't really deep breath. It's a little deeper than normal. You're trying to smooth it out. If you notice the breath kind of has a erratic, flow to it, try to smooth it out a little bit more, but also relax. So we're just bringing it back to basics again, the default shift into the more conscious parasympathetic present. We're not thinking about the future, the past. We're not emotional. Just really present with a simple task, concentrating and focusing. And this idea, yogis, this idea of the prefrontal lobes, it's what's built human society, all of our technology, outer space, and all the beautiful technology we created, but then 40% of people are, anxiety and depression and high stress levels. We don't know how to handle this intelligence yet, this consciousness. So we're working on just controlling where we put our mind, our attention, it's called.
Don't want to do more. Just stay with this simple task. Focusing on your breath, following it, making it smooth and more skillful. There's a famous saying in Hatha Yoga called Chitti Vritti Naroda. Chitti Vritta Naroda. It is the controlling of the wandering mind. It's like the whole goal of Hatha Yoga. Or the cessation of the monkey mind. The mind that's jumping all over. That scientist I mentioned, it's a book called The Flow. It's really fantastic. I never read the whole book, but I've watched the lectures by the guy. And he talks about when surgeons, get into that space, when artists and musicians, they create the symphonies and the masterpieces. And the surgeons do those 8-hour brain surgeries with precision. It's all about controlling that wandering mind, our masterful skills, our emotional stabilization, harmony of the mind and body all come into the moment. So yogis, we got about 7 minutes left in meditation. You can choose to stay with that practice or go passive like Shavasana. Even focusing like that can be busy. So some of us need to just let the mind kind of relax now. So simple meditation practice today, the basics, 7 minutes.